Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with special host Brigida Santos.
Hi there.
Hi, Brigida.
Hello.
I worked with Brigida. We worked together on Jesse Ventura's World According to Jesse when he was on vacation.
Which became The World According to Jimmy.
That's right.
It was great.
We kept the initials WATJ.
Yes, we did. Wasn't on purpose, but it just worked out nicely.
It worked out.
Yeah.
It worked out. Jesse's a true patriot. I love that guy.
Yep.
So right now we're going to talk about, I saw this interview on the BBC, which was kind of stunning. But first I want to give you a little background until, if you watch the show, you already know this, but in case this is the first time you're seeing it, why are we in Syria? There's two reasons why. The first reason is because Saudi Arabia wants us to go there, and they've offered to pay for us to do it. Here's John Kerry admitting that in front of
With respect to Arab countries offering to bear cost and to assist, the answer is profoundly yes, they have. That offer is on the table.
So there it is. In regard to our Arab countries who have made an offer, the offer's on the table. What does that offer include exactly? Let's hear what he has to say. This is him, by the way, in front of the House Foreign Affairs Committee.
Mr. Secretary, and the details on the offer and the proposal on the table, what are the figures that we're talking about?
Well, we don't know what action we're engaged in right now, but they've been quite significant. I mean, very significant.
What I like here is he's about to giggle about war funding from Saudi Arabia. Here we go. This is the laugh caused by the petrodollar. Ready? Here we go.
In fact, some of them have said that if the United States is prepared to go do the whole thing the way we've done it previously in other places, they'll carry that cost. That's how dedicated they are to this.
So there you go. That's the Saudi Arabia. That's the admission that Saudi Arabia has offered to pay for us, like they've done before. If we're willing to do it alone, like we did the first Iraq War, second Iraq War, that kind of stuff, they'll pay for it. And why would they pay for it? Because of the petrodollar. And if you don't know what that is, in the 70s, Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard and we went on the petrodollar, which Saudi Arabia agreed to. Whenever someone buys oil from them, they have to first convert their currency into greenbacks, American dollars. And that's artificially kind of been keeping our currency afloat. And what we gave them in return for that was our military, which is why we're in bed with that brutal dictatorship that's committing a genocide in Yemen, instead of other Arab countries, which are less brutal than they are, right? So why aren't we friends with Iran and we're friends with Saudi Arabia? It's got to do with the petrodollar. Okay. So, by the way, did you know this about John Kerry, that he admitted it? I mean, we all know that Saudi Arabia is offered to fund. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
That's kind of stunning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not really surprising.
No, not surprising, but stunning that they just admitted it.
Yeah, but I think people have done this before in Congress. They come out and admit things, and they don't realize that they're admitting something at the time.
Yes.
They're just kind of thinking that's going to go under the rug.
Yes. And Saudi Arabia and Qatar wants to put a pipeline, natural gas, through Syria, which is what this is about. And they've wanted to get rid of Assad for a long time. Now, another part of this is Israel. So this is from WikiLeaks. Hillary Clinton's brief on Syria from Clinton emails. And if you read, it says the best way to help Israel deal with Iran's growing nuclear capability is to help the people of Syria overthrow the regime of Bashar Assad. And then the bottom here is in yellow. What Israel military leaders really worry about but cannot talk about is losing their nuclear monopoly. So those are the two reasons why we're in Syria that no one in mainstream news will tell you. How much coverage of Syria have you watched? How much have you read? I'm going to guess a bunch, even if you're trying not to. Have you ever heard that before? Have you ever heard any establishment news person say, well, we're at the behest of Israel and Saudi Arabia. This really isn't about helping anyone. This is about, yes. So, were you aware of that there
yes.
was that WikiLeaks? Yes.
Yeah, I'm aware of this.
Yeah. So here's one more thing that I want to let you know. So this is Christiane Amanpour, and she used to work for CNN. She's back working for CNN right now. She's doing a special show about sex, and it's about sex and the way people have sex all over the world, Jimmy. So, what about refugees? How do they maintain sex? Okay, so here is Christiane Amanpour. This is from 2006. Just in case you thought for a second that the Syrian war was about something that happened in 2013 or something that happened in 2011 or something that happened last year or a gas attack that just happened this month. If you think it's about any of that stuff, let me disabuse you of that bad idea. And here is Christiane Amanpour talking with Bashar al-Assad in 2006. Here we go.
Mr. President, you know the rhetoric of regime change is headed towards you from the United States. They are actively looking for a new Syrian leader. They're granting visas and visits to Syrian opposition politicians. They're talking about isolating you diplomatically and perhaps a coup d'etat or your regime crumbling. What are you thinking about that?
I think it's fantastic. Thanks for the question. I appreciate it. Thank you for being so straightforward. I think it's great. I think I should get the hell out of here. I don't know what I'm doing ruling the country. So that's in 2006. Now, if she said that in 2006, what are the implications of that?
I mean, this is coming. She just told him.
And here it is.
He should thank her.
And it only took about 5 more years for the CIA to go into Syria, start paying moderate rebels, right? I love that, moderate rebels. What is a moderate rebel? Do you know what a moderate rebel is?
I mean, a moderate rebel is not really a thing that exists.
That's like
There's
being
no
a little
such thing as a moderate rebel.
Yeah, I'm
You're
a
either
rebel.
a rebel or you're not,
Yes.
and that's it.
But I'm a moderate rebel. Like I'd like to kill people, but I'm lazy. I'm more about eating Cheetos and watching Netflix.
Right. Moderate rebel symbolizes somebody who just goes on Twitter and sends a middle finger, you know, to the regime, not somebody who gets out there and gets involved with terrorists.
Being a moderate rebel is kind of like being moderately pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah, you either are or you aren't.
Yeah.
There's no in the middle. So there is no such thing as a moderate rebel. Here's the whole point of this. So I wanted to give you all that background just so you know what's really going on and that they're all lying to you in the establishment press, right? When they say this is because of what Assad did when they were doing graffiti in 2011 and he killed people. They been doing this. They wanted to overthrow him for a long, long time. And this has nothing to do with what they're telling you, which is why we have a show that's actually popular, because the establishment news sucks so hard and they won't tell you the truth. And here I'm going to show you how a news anchor goes one step further. Not only will they not tell you the truth, but when someone comes on their show to tell you the truth, they try to smear them and undermine them. You think I'm kidding? Here we go. So, here we go.
We can speak now to the Labour peer and former head of the Royal Navy, Lord West. He joins us from our Westminster studios. And thank you very much for your time this morning. You've been casting some doubt on what's been happening, the evidence, according to our own Defence Secretary, according to President Macron of France and others, about what happened in Douma, saying that the evidence doesn't really fit well for President Assad ordering a chemical attack. Just tell us more about your thoughts on that, first of all.
Yes, President Assad is in the process of winning this civil war, and he was about to take over and occupy Douma, all that area. He'd had a long, long, hard slog, slowly capturing that whole area of the city. And there, just before he goes in and takes it all over, apparently he decides to have a chemical attack. It just doesn't ring true. It seems extraordinary because clearly he would know that there's likely to be a response from the Allies. What benefit is there for his military? Most of the rebel fighters, this disparate group of Islamists had withdrawn. There were a few women and children left around. What benefit was there militarily in doing what he did? I find that extraordinary. Whereas we know that in the past, some of the Islamic groups have used chemicals, and of course there would be huge benefit in them labelling an attack as coming from Assad, because they would guess quite rightly that there'd be a response from the US, as there was last time, and possibly from the UK and France.
So now if that guy was on CNN, they would call him a conspiracy peddler. because that's what I do on my show. I say the exact same things he's saying, and CNN called me a conspiracy peddler. And the conspiracy that I peddled was skepticism over the official narrative that the gas attack in Duma was carried out by Assad. The same thing, that guy was the chief sea lord, which, boy, that's such a title, huh? And he's going to go on. So that's kind of, so that makes sense, right? What he's saying to you, does that make sense? So that seems reasonable?
It seems reasonable. Again, Syria for me is such a complicated one. We really don't know what's happening, and it is done by design. All governments lie, and they're all doing their best to make sure that it remains a lie. So it is really hard to know who's telling the truth, but I think it's very important to be critical of all of it and at least exercise your critical thinking skills and question everything that's coming out of there.
I really can't believe all governments lie. That is so hard to believe.
Yeah, I know, right?
That is so hard
so
to
crazy.
believe. I mean, that is, whew, that hits you right in the Saddam. Anyway, so now she's going to push back a little, and it doesn't get horrible yet. It's still okay. Here we go.
To say, though, that you're looking at this from the point of view of strategy and tactics rather than any evidence.
Absolutely, although we do know that the reports that came from there were from the white helmets, who, let's face it, are not neutrals. You know, they're very much on the side of the disparate groups who are fighting Assad, and also the World Health Organization doctors who are there. And again, those doctors are embedded in amongst the groups, doing fantastic work, I know, but they're not neutral. And I am just a little bit concerned, because as we now move to the next phase in this war, if I were advising some of the Islamist groups, many of whom are worse than Daesh, I would say, look, we've got to wait until there's another attack by Assad's forces, particularly if they have a helicopter overhead or something like that and they're dropping barrel bombs, and we must set off some chlorine, because we'll get the next attack from the Allies. And there's no doubt that if we believe he's done a chemical attack, we should do that. And those attacks will get bigger. And it is the only way they have got, actually, of stopping the inevitable victory of Assad.
So again, that makes 100% sense. That's logical. What he's saying is logical. What we're being fed from our government and the other Western governments that want to overthrow Assad for the reasons I already showed you doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's just such a weird coinkydink that every time the United States announces they're withdrawing from Syria, Assad goes and screws the whole pooch and decides to gas his own people when he could just as easily drop a frickin' bomb on them if he wanted to kill them. Okay, so now here comes my favorite part. Here we go.
You saying that there may be something faulty with the intelligence, the proof that President Macron has said he has?
Oh, the President Macron said he has it? Really? Wow, well, I guess that means it's true then, because I'm sure they... if the president said so, I mean, come on, there are known knowns and known unknowns and knowns and knowns and knowns.
With the, to quote the Defense Secretary here, Gavin Williamson, the significant body of intelligence which suggests the Assad regime is responsible for what happened in Duma. Are you suggesting there may be faulty intelligence behind all of this?
Yes. Yes, that's what he's suggesting.
This is my favorite. We've seen this before, all these faulty intelligence reports that come out. I mean, 5 years after they took out Muammar Gaddafi,
yes.
UK Parliament literally released a report saying, we had faulty intelligence. He wasn't actually going to do all the things we thought he was going to do, and we underestimated all the terrorists. Yes. And then 64 years after the CIA does the Iranian coup, they come out and say, oh yeah, just kidding, it was all about oil, in case you didn't know. So it always comes out later on. This is why everybody's questioning what's really happening, as we should, because we should not just accept the official line from any government, from anybody. But it's a little weird that now when you look back at history and call out these prior events, that you are a conspiracy theorist.
Yes, so when you actually call out their conspiracies that they're actually committing,
yes,
you are now branded a conspiracy theorist because you caught them.
And again, how many times has this happened? We had, Gulf of Tonkin, literally the lie that launched the Vietnam War, over and over again, so many lies. And this is just the next in a series of them. So, of course, people are going to be confused. And the American mainstream media, actually all the Western mainstream media, has done a great job of creating their own propaganda so that when other networks like RT come out and have their own reporting, everybody talks about this information war, but really what's happening is the mainstream press is just losing their chokehold on everything, because they can have this war with, RT and other networks, but there are people like you who are independent and other journalists who are independent. They can't stop everybody.
And they're trying right now.
They're trying, but who even watches TV anymore? I don't know anybody who watches TV. Who has cable?
This is my question. Who actually turns to CNN to get informed? Who actually turns to MSNBC? Even how many times does it have to be revealed that they're in the tank for the corporation, not in the tank for their viewers? They're there to make money for their parent company, not there to inform you. And in the minute that Rachel Maddow or Chris Hayes says anything that costs their company a nickel, they will be out on their ear. Just like Ed Schultz was gone when he had great ratings. Phil Donahue had the #1 show on the network.
Jesse was taken off MSNBC for Iraq.
Jesse was taken off because of
Iraq. They had to pay him out for the rest of his contract because he wouldn't get in line. It's the same thing.
So another one, Jesse. So if you're against war, they will fire you at the establishment news if you don't acquiesce.
Or if you just do your job of being a journalist. You're supposed to be a journalist. This is what you're supposed to do. You got hired to do a job, and then they tell you they don't want you to do that job. It's ridiculous.
So what I tell people ask me about how do I approach stories like this with the government? How can I tell who's telling the truth? And I always say my jumping off point is the government is lying.
They're all lying.
And I have to figure out what that lie is.
Right, but you should at least be able to hear all the lies.
That's
so
right.
You know where the truth is. Because if you're only hearing one lie...
That's right. You are correct. So, okay, you think it gets better. Here we go.
I think if it's saying it suggests it did it, I'm not sure that's strong enough. If they've got, and I'm not privy to this, if they've got really good intelligence, let's say, for example, GCHQ or NSA intercepts of Syrian officers discussing an attack and saying, yes, let's use chlorine, then okay, fine. And I have no difficulty with what was done, none at all.
Now, I disagree with him on that point. He's saying, if we can prove they did the gas attack, then we should bomb Syria. Because that presupposes that we care about people and the way they're killed. So some people got killed with gas. Now we're going to go kill them with the bombs. Doesn't make any sense, A. B, if we really cared about people, we wouldn't be assisting Saudi Arabia in committing a genocide in Yemen today.
Exactly.
Because that's the point they can't get away from, and they'll never bring up on establishment
They
news.
never bring it up. And by the way, I did a half-hour special on RT. They let me do a special about Yemen. I just said, I want to talk about Yemen. They said, go for it.
Oh, really?
Yes. And at that time, there was barely anything out there about Yemen and what was really going on there.
It's still not being reported in establishment news.
If they do report it, though, they just focus on the Iran angle. They don't focus on the fact that America has literally sold all these weapons to Saudi Arabia to drop on top of the civilians there at weddings just this week.
Chris Hayes did cover Yemen in October of 2016. He covered it one time. So here we go. Gets better.
I think if he has used chemical weapons, it's absolutely right to do a rap across his knuckles to show him that the international community are not willing to put up with this, and it's right to do it. But I just wonder, we've had some bad experiences on intelligence. When I was Chief of Defence Intelligence, I had huge pressure put on me politically to try and say that our bombing campaign in Bosnia was achieving all sorts of things, which it wasn't. I was put under huge pressure. So I know the things that can happen with intelligence, and I would just like to be absolutely sure.
We know that the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Friday...
So first of all, that's jaw-dropping. Like, if I was that reporter or that host, I would say, wait a minute. You were pressured before, when you were defense minister, you were pressured to say something about war that you knew wasn't true? You were pressured to lie to your own people? Who pressured you? That would be my next question. Who did all that pressuring? You have tremendous pressure to lie to people about war. He's just admitting it. And her next question is not, who pressured you? And what did they want you to say? Watch what her next question is. The Russian minister is, here we go.
Accused a Western state on Friday of perhaps fabricating evidence in Duma or somehow being involved with what happened in Duma. Given that we're in an information war with Russia on so many fronts, do you think perhaps it's inadvisable to be stating this so publicly, given your position and your profile? Isn't there a danger that you're muddying the waters?
So someone comes out and tells the truth about war, and her journalistic reflex isn't to ask who pressured you and who did that. Her journalistic reflex says, don't you think you should shut up about that? Don't you think you should keep that under your hat? You know the truth about war. Why are you saying it? That's going to undermine the war. Isn't that what she just said?
Well, she's being pressured just the same on her end. Somebody above her pay grade is telling her the same thing. Don't ask the questions that you're supposed to ask. Just get in line and do what you're told.
And so that would be, I used to have this segment on another show. It was called WWJD, What Would a Journalist Do? And what a journalist would do in that situation would do exactly what I said. Wait a minute, who said that? Who pushed back against? Who pressured you? And how often does pressure like this happen? And which way does the pressure go? That's stunning to me that she did that. But as you point out, yes, of course she's being pressured. Of course she knows that if she actually follows the line of questioning she's supposed to, she's going to get a talking to, and she probably will be off the BBC pretty soon. So let's go. Keep going.
Well, I think the answer is, if there's a real concern, let's face it, if he hasn't done it, then that is extremely bad news. You know, if Assad hasn't carried out the attack, and I think it's just worth making that clear. I think our government's policy towards Assad has not been clever since 2013. To say we're not going to have anything to do with him, he's not the president, we're not going to have anything to do with him, is flying in the face of realpolitik, of facts on the ground. And he's a nasty, unpleasant, horrible person. There's no doubt about that. But the reality is he's there. And our policy of not talking to him almost has, if anything, prolonged this civil war.
Do you have concerns, though, about giving
war.
credence, perhaps, to the Russians?
She just won't stop. Yeah, I get it. You and your truth and what have you and the whole thing. But if you keep telling the truth, that's going to give credence to the truth. I didn't go to journalism school, right? I told jokes in nightclubs, and I don't understand how you can look at yourself in the mirror after you're doing that over war. For what? So you can have some shitty media job on the BBC? That's ridiculous. You have a chance to make a difference in the world. You actually have a chance. There's a guy right there telling you that I've been pressured to lie about war, and it looks like we're being lied to again. And what you do instead of pursuing the truth is you try to shut that guy down and shame him, which is what's happening right there. I'm slack-jawed by this. And I don't cut her any slack, by the way. Do you? You cut her a little bit slack, right?
I don't cut her slack, but I do cut BBC slack for even airing the interview. Because now we get to see it and talk crap about her. And now, you know, this is an official. Again, we shouldn't always trust officials, but I would much rather hear somebody like him talking than listen to her commentary.
And what would be in it for him? Right, that's the whole thing. Yeah, there's nothing. Just like he's saying, what would be in it for Assad to do this? If he wanted to kill those people, he could just kill them with regular bullets and bombs, which he's been doing really well. And what would be in it for this guy to tell the truth about that? That all the money is the other way. Mm-hmm. All the money is in Raytheon, right? So if you have stock in Raytheon, those are the missiles that are being dropped on Syria. Your stock just went up. So all the money. By the way, I'm pretty sure the Prime Minister's husband owns a lot of stock in Raytheon. I'm sure the Queen does. Yeah. So
well, and he's basing everything on actual past true experiences, actually history.
Yes.
And which is, again, why we're questioning everything based on history. And again, it's so crazy that you just look at a history book and you go, well, maybe not this time. We're not going to buy the official line. And again, we're not allowed to do that.
Could you imagine covering the Iraq War, the Libyan War, and then covering Syria like that? Could you imagine that?
No.
I can't either. That's just mind blowing. But it's happening, and it's happening right in front of your eyes. And the question she asked is the same question I've asked here. Who the hell turns on CNN, MSNBC, and the BBC and thinks they're getting the truth about war? Who?
Old people.
Old people. You're right. People over 60
it's
or something.
mostly older people.
Nothing wrong with people over 60. We're all going to be over 60 someday, and I love them. And a lot of them watch this show. In fact,
yeah, my point is after their generation is gone,
yeah,
I'm not going to be watching.
Right. It's just about over.
Yeah, we're all going to be online.
That's why YouTube's trying to squash independent news and push us towards the BBC, PBS, CNN, MSNBC. They're trying to go right now. They're trying to get us to throttle us. They're not trying. They are.
They are. Yeah.
And pushing people towards mainstream news because it's a one big capitalist gangbang, baby. That's why. Let's see if there's a little bit more to this.
Well, I have to say that the Russians talking about another power doing it is complete nonsense. And the Russians, I'm afraid, lie as a matter of policy. So I have no truck with that. And so I'm not paying attention to what they're saying, to be quite honest. It's just my concern. Militarily, it just seems extraordinary. And I don't think we can always rely on some of the reports that come from within these areas because it's not from neutral observers.
But if you are right and an opposition group, a rebel group, did do this, then the Western nations who've been involved in these strikes have made a massive blunder, haven't they? And the implications are huge.
Well, certainly, if that is the...
You think? Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah, that's what this is all about. We're doing it again. We did it in Iraq. We did it in Libya. We're doing it again. Okay. By the way, we've been in Afghanistan for almost 18 years.
My God.
Oh, my God. 2 more years, that war gets to retire.
We've been duped. But these things happen in war. And, yes, we would have been duped. And I think we will learn a lesson from that because if it's done again, we'll be a little bit more careful. But as I say, I hope, against hope, that they have got absolutely cast iron intelligence, in which case the action that was conducted was absolutely right to slap him across his wrist. There is no doubt Assad is a loathsome man. There's no doubt in the past he has used chemical weapons, and there is a real danger of this creeping acceptance of chemical weapons being used, and that is a worry. So that's really the balance of how I would put across my view.
Okay, Lord West, thank you very much.
So there you go. The BBC, tip of the hat, they let the truth get out on live television.
Hey,
and that's
they
the
sure
only
did.
reason I got out, because it's live, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's true.
That's it.
Unless they cut the entire feed and just go to a commercial,
Yes.
But I'm sure there'll be some follow-up article about him and how he's bought by Russia or something.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll find a way to smear him or slander him.
Yeah.
It's funny that got out on live TV because I'm going to show in another segment, they sent a reporter to Duma to check on the validity of the chemical attack, and what the reporter did was literally sniff a backpack and go, yep, definitely stings.
That is some award-winning journalism right there.
Now, when they posted that video, when CNN posted that video, that was left out of the video. So that's why you got to catch it on live TV.
Yep.
So anyway, there you go. That was eye-opening. I hope it was eye-opening to you. Now you know the background of why we're there. Now you know the foreground. And you know how good of a job the BBC does in parroting the government's line of attack. Please make sure you're subscribed. It only takes a second. Make sure you're subscribed and click that bell so they give you a notice whenever we drop a video. And if you can become a patron, we give you hours of bonus material every week. Our next live show is June 30th in Portland, Oregon. And we do a super solid chat every Saturday. That's our live stream. You can ask us questions and we answer back. That's Saturdays at 2 p.m. Pacific. Plus, we're on Steam It. We're steaming it right now.